Welcome to your Healing Place podcast with Linda and Mindy. It is our desire to address common concerns of how abortion and faith intersect in order to validate the emotional pain and grief that abortion can bring and give hope that recovery is possible. We talk about grace a lot as believers in the church, and
True.
There's a lot of people who have been churched to some degree and probably heard the word grace because it's talked about a lot, and it's on mugs, it's on wall art, it's on everything. So but what really is it? And maybe we ought to talk about both grace and mercy because they really go together, but this is how I view it. Grace is the external givings that we give to each other. It's Christ's riches at God's expense. God's riches at Christ's expense, is what it stands for. And is what was how people acronym it, I should say. But it's really in a scriptural or spiritual sense, it's that grace that we get by being a believer. Christ died for us, we get his life. That's grace, and for us,
he gives us what we don't deserve.
Yeah. Well, yes. And so as believers, to me, I got to give grace. I got to give grace. I got to give grace. To me is more of an external thing, giving them room, giving them what they, giving them things. Maybe it's material things, but it's kind of giving of your riches. Mercy, on the other hand, is, in my mind, giving of yourself in a deeper sense of your heart. And so mercy is not getting what you deserve. And
right, we deserve punishment, but God put it on Jesus instead, so we don't have to have it.
Right. And I think that we don't really understand the value of being merciful to one another. And so in my mind, those who have abortion in their past are coming with the idea, or approaching anything now with the idea, that if I share this, if somebody finds out about this, I'm not going to get mercy. They may not use that word. I'm going to get condemnation. Right. And truthfully, if we really back that out and as believers look at condemnation, really the only person that really can condemn is Jesus. And that's at the final, there's really nothing that anybody can do on this earth that really condemns us eternally. That is an act only possible by God anyway. But how, have you received mercy in your life? And what did that look like from others, from human beings?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I mean, we're all afraid if somebody finds out about the abortion that they're going to condemn, like you said, that they're going to think less of us. And there may be a few, but in many, many years of dealing with this, by and large, people do extend mercy because
And
they
they
know they're
don't.
sinners too,
Yeah. The few do not represent the whole, for sure.
No,
It's a
no.
small few.
In the church, I've shared my testimony for years, very publicly, and by and large, people come up and say, "Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for letting us know that there is a healing and forgiveness available." And I think we are merciful to people. We don't condemn by and large.
Now, those women sitting
And I think
behind
it's
you,
true in the world.
those women
Yes,
sitting behind
I
you,
have been.
that was a condemning, if you will, statement. But in the grand scheme of
When
things,
people
they
say,
can't condemn you
how
to
could anybody
anything.
choose abortion?
Mm-hmm.
Abortion is murder.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they look in my face after I share my testimony, they're not condemning me. They're
Right.
condemning the act. They're condemning the
Yeah.
sin, which should be condemned.
Yeah.
We're talking here about ending a life,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not condemning me. So I
Right.
guess that's the difference, is that when they see a face, most people do extend mercy.
Mm-hmm. They do. And mercy is so healing. And especially when it comes from somebody who has not had abortion in their past, mercy is so healing because oftentimes we think the church is just a very hoity-toity, um, ready to criticize, the old church lady kind of tag, baggage thing. And it's just, yeah, they are there, they're out there. But I think at the end of the day,
Mhm.
when they hear the story, just talking about an action, abortion, just talking about abortion, just in and of itself to talk about it, yeah,
Right.
I could be very harsh, probably. But hearing the story, hearing the stories that I've heard, knowing my own story, it changes the whole dynamic of how you respond to somebody. And really it goes,
Mhm.
shame is, we're not, we're basically talking about shame, because shame is one of those things that is attached to all manner of sin. People who struggle with pornography, people who struggle with alcoholism, and abortion is one of those things that it's not like we're struggling with a habit. It doesn't continue to be a habit in our lives. Typically, it's usually
It's not
something
who
that's,
we are, it's something we did
well, it's something that happened years ago. It's just still
for
affecting us
some of
today,
us.
for generally, yeah, for many of us.
Mhm.
And we somehow think that our story is going to be different than everybody else's, because it hits to the core of who we are as women.
Or that it's worse somehow than everybody else's. Jesus had an interesting concept that those that have been forgiven much will
Love
forgive
much.
others. And I think that the people that extend mercy are those that have had mercy extended to them.
Mm-hmm.
When we experience the humility of knowing that we all fail, that we're all less than we should be, it makes us much quicker to extend mercy to other people
Mm-hmm.
then.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Thank you for listening. This podcast was inspired by the many conversations had through the years with women struggling from the emotional pain associated with abortion. Thank you for allowing us into your healing journey. Subscribe on major platforms where podcasts can be heard. Learn more about virtual abortion recovery healing at www.anevenplace.com. The link is in the show notes.